big age gap relationship here. That's kind of maybe a little weird. I read Twilight. I spent about a week reading all 403 pages of this book. And let me tell you, I used to be one of those teenage boys that was like, I hate Twilight. Twilight's so stupid. I hate Twilight. And now that I've read it, I think I might be a fan. So we'll get into it. I'll tell you all a little about what I liked and what I disliked. But before we go into that, if you've never heard of Twilight, let's summarize the plot real quick. Basically, a girl named Bella moves from Arizona to Forks, Washington, which is this really rainy kind of small town area. Once there, she's going to school and everything. She meets a boy named Edward. And through the course of the book, we discover that Edward is actually a vampire. And another boy in the town named Jacob is actually a werewolf. So there are some strange happenings going on in this town. But at the same time, we discover there's this band of like evil vampires, because Edward belongs to a family of good vampires that don't like eat people or anything. But these evil vampires, no, they're hunting people. They're looking for people to bite and drain their blood and everything. And that's our story. I'm not going to get too much into it because I'm going to talk about it a lot anyway. But that's the main gist. Like I said before, I went into this book expecting to hate it and to be like, this is so stupid. Why am I even reading this? I picked it up to read it because I was like, this will be a funny video, you know. I'll read Twilight. I'll rant about how much I hate Twilight. I guess I'm eating my own words. I really expected this to be like a romance book, just with like werewolves and vampires and stuff. And when I actually got into it, it is a romance book, right? But at the same time, there's a lot of stuff in here where if you're not like a big romance guy or like a big romance person in general, you can still have a lot of fun with the book. I think this might just be like my middle school boy side coming out, because when I was little, I used to go to the library and rent all these books about like werewolves are real, vampires are real, you know. So when I'm reading this, I'm kind of tapping back into that side where it's like, oh, cool, werewolves and vampires, this is awesome. All right, little editor's note here. I wanted some proof that I really was this werewolf vampire obsessed kid, just monsters in general, really. So I went to my mom's Facebook page, I looked up library, and sure enough, one of the very first things I see, this photo of me, right? And what am I reading? Of course, I'm reading a Werewolves Are Real book. I told you guys, I'm not a liar. I'm for real. I used to be obsessed with like monsters and stuff. So just a little proof for you guys in case you didn't believe me. I mean, who doesn't love werewolves and vampires? I love werewolves and vampires. And there's a lot of stuff in this that's like surprisingly good and interesting and fun. I think one of my favorite parts is Bella, this character that is being established as a love interest for a vampire, is like really woozy at the sight of blood, and when they're doing like a finger prick thing in class to test their blood type, she faints at the sight of blood, like this little drop of blood. But then she also wants to go and like be with a vampire, which is kind of crazy, but it's a fun like little plot device. Having said that, let me say, Edward Cullen's in this book is so creepy and sounds incredibly deranged throughout the entire duration of this book. He is constantly telling her how good she smells, like he's like all up in her, like, I love the way you smell. And then he's also constantly like, maybe I'm the villain. Maybe I'm a bad guy, Bella. Have you ever thought to think that maybe I'm scary? And Bella loves this. At one point, there's this like passage where she's interacting with a friend from school, this guy that like she rejected to prom so that she could go with Edward. And he's like, so Edward, huh? I don't like it. I don't like the way he looks at you like you're a piece of meat. And Bella like thinks about this and giggles to herself. It's like Are you saying you want to be eaten and devoured by this guy? Do you want to become like a meal for a vampire? This is weird. You're a freak. You're not normal. Unless women really do want to be meals for vampires, and this is just some part of the female psyche that I had no idea existed. I don't know. I think it's best maybe if I don't know about that. Another little thing in this book that makes no sense at all is Edward tells her that he's a vampire, and she kind of just never doubts it, you know? I think in real life, if you were this like high school age girl, and this guy that you're seeing is like, oh, by the way, I'm an immortal vampire, you would probably be like, this guy might not be okay in the head. Let me separate myself from this situation. Bella, none of that. Bella's just like, oh, okay, cool. She never even has this like real moment of doubt where she's like, is what they're telling me really true? She kind of just right away is like, all right, yeah, vampires are real, werewolves are real. This is all real. Cool, I'm gonna date a vampire. And I get it, Edward like walks out into the sun and his skin is sparkling and everything, which is a really weird vampire thing that this book establishes, that the vampires, if they're in the sun, their skin like sparkles. But I feel like even then, if I was in a relationship with someone and they're like, oh, well, I can prove it, my skin sparkles in the sun, I'd be like, you definitely just put glitter on your skin or something. You're definitely lying to me. You're not a vampire. It would take so much for someone to actually convince me that they were a vampire. But Bella maybe is just gullible. She buys into it so fast. I've talked about a few things I like. I've talked about a creepy thing, right? Let me tell you the most disappointing part about this book for me. And that is the Cullen family's bear hunt. Pretty early on in the novel, it's established that the Cullens, they're like these moral vampires, right? So they don't eat humans, or they don't like drain the blood from humans, right? But they do it to animals. So they'll go out into the woods, and Edward literally says, we hunt bears, which is very cool, right? It's kind of this Chekhov's gun situation where, okay, he said that they hunted bears, right? We're gonna get a cool scene of them hunting bears together. These vampires with super speed and everything that are gonna take down a bear. It's gonna be so cool. So I'm reading the whole book anticipating this moment where they're gonna hunt bears. It never comes. I never got my bear hunting moment that I so desperately was craving. And looking back, this might be stupid, but there's a part in the book where they're talking about going and playing baseball in the woods. The Cullen family, this whole vampire family, they're telling Bella, hey, why don't you join us? We're going to go play baseball. And in my head, surely these vampires aren't going to go to the middle of the woods and play a game of real American baseball, right? So in my head, this is vampire code for a bear hunt. And for some reason, they just say they're going to play baseball, maybe so that nobody catches on that they're going to hunt a bear. No, they're just going to the woods to play actual baseball. And they just play a whole chapter of baseball, but as vampires. Stephanie, is it too much for me to ask of you to just include a passage of vampires hunting bears? Is that really too much to ask out of the vampire book? I really want to just lie and tell you guys, oh, I hate this book. It's just a stupid teen romance book. But I was intrigued. I read the whole thing very quickly, and the whole time I was invested in the book. And when I would put down the book, I would be thinking about the book and be thinking like, man, I got to pick it back up again and finish this book. I kind of like the will they, won't they between Edward and Bella. Right? The whole time, Bella's kind of like, oh, I want to be with him. And Edward's keeping her at an arm's length, right? He's like, I can't get involved. You know, I'm an immortal vampire. You're a high school girl. Which, saying that out loud now, that sounds kind of weird, right? Is that not weird? That he's like this 3,000-year-old vampire or something, and Bella's in high school? Big age gap relationship here. That's kind of maybe a little weird. But I do like the, like, will they, won't they. Edward's, like, not really opening himself up. And then when he finally does open himself up, you know, kind of helps them out both a little bit. But Edward's also scared because he doesn't normally form these attachments. And the final scene of this book is, like, brutal. It's very kind of dark for a young adult romance novel. Basically what happens is this evil vampire James lures Bella to this old ballet studio using a, like, fake version of her mom's voice to lure her there because she thinks her mom has been kidnapped, right? This whole kind of thing ensues. Bella gets her leg broken, and James, the evil vampire, ends up biting her, which in this universe means that she is going to now be an immortal vampire. But 3 members of the Cullen family, Edward, Jasper, and Alice, all arrive just in time and proceed to dismember and burn alive this vampire, which is described in pretty brutal detail. And then Edward finds out, right, oh no, Bella got bit, she's gonna become this immortal vampire, which she's kind of told Edward throughout this book that she wants so that she can be with him for, like, eternity. But Edward has proceededly denied her. He said, like, no, I don't want you to be that. I want you to live a normal human life. Being a vampire is exhausting. So he finds her and he, like, sucks the venom out of her and successfully prevents her from becoming an immortal vampire. And the last kind of passage is really sweet. It did make me smile a little bit because they get to go to prom together and have this kind of normal night. And Bella's still asking to be a vampire, but Edward's kind of denying her. I really like how Bella doesn't just get her wish to become a vampire. It makes the book so much more interesting that you know that that's what this character wants, but Edward kind of knows that that's not what's good for her and everything. And yeah, maybe that's something that in the other books, Bella eventually does get her wish to become an immortal vampire and everything. We'll have to see. If you guys want to see me read the other Twilight books, I'm not totally opposed, but you're going to have to ask for it because I don't know if I'm man enough yet to admit that I just want to read the other books in the series. I'm pretty happy with my choice to read this book. I really didn't feel like it was a waste of time. I felt like I enjoyed it. It was entertaining enough to where when I finished it, I was like, that was fun. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you guys. That's all I can say about this book is it was fun. I had fun reading it, you know. I wasn't, like, mad that I was reading the book the whole time. And there were a few parts where I was genuinely like, oh, they're gonna get together. This is so sweet. That's all I have to say about Twilight for now, guys. So if you have any, like, things to add about these books, anything that you found interesting or something that I've neglected to mention in this video, go ahead, leave it in the comments below. I love talking books. I say it in every video. I can never get enough of reading comments, talking about books. I love to reply and kind of discuss books and the books I talk about and everything. So yeah, go ahead, leave a comment below if you feel like it. And I really appreciate it if you made it this far. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.